Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Has anyone else experienced Japanese barberry thorns in your hands? No. Okay. They just have this propensity for getting deeply inside your hands. They're the worst things. Trying to get them off my property.
So when you say hens, you mean chickens? Like
No, hands.
hands.
I have splinters.
You said it.
Yeah, the thorns get deeply into.
Wait, you have hands on your property that you can't get off?
What?
What's going on over there?
Ken is flipping around.
They can.
Sorry, Julia, that just didn't go well, huh?
I thought you said hens also. And I'm like, no, I don't have any hens.
Hens. Oh, well.
Well, Ken, what's going on with your...
You have a new camera, a new background.
Oh, blurry.
You've had too much to drink. It's just fuzzy.
It makes you look very high def.
It does.
Yeah.
Is that a green screen behind you?
No, it's just one of the standard functions of Zoom.
You
Okay.
can blur the
Art
background.
class, and I have professional Zoom moderators helping me. They teach me all these tricks.
Oh, by the way, how is your granddaughter?
She's
By the
fine.
way, how is your granddaughter?
Oh, wait. So
I know, I'm trying to do it too.
Ashley's not... How did we get into this meeting?
Oh, I know at the Climate Smart meeting yesterday, she started it and then she passed control to somebody. Did she talk to you about that?
Well,
She
yes,
passed control to Alex.
she said that that's what she was going to do, but I didn't realize that meant that I didn't know enough about how Zoom works to know that means like now that's it.
You're in control,
Sure.
Alex.
That's great.
You gotta
So
let
she
people
doesn't
in.
have to stick with us the whole time. That's great for her. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Oh, that means I can mute people.
That's exactly right.
A little bit of power goes a long way.
Mm.
And you can draw on them.
That's very exciting. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hi.
Oh boy.
Hey, Arlene.
Hi.
All right, and Nick can't make it tonight, so I think this is
Okay.
everybody. I have 7, so I'm gonna officially call this meeting of the Woodstock Environmental Commission to order. It's April 7th, 2021, 7 p.m. Present we have Robert, Erin, Julia, Arlene, David, and our guests, Laura and Ken. How are you guys? Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the agenda for tonight?
Yes, looks good.
Would anyone like to do the honors?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All right.
All in
Oh
favor?
my God.
Mhm.
What did we say? Do we?
Vote.
All in favor?
Yes.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And did we all get a chance to look at Bob's minutes?
Mhm.
I did.
And oh, hi, Michael. Would anyone like to? How do we feel
I
about
move
approving them?
to approve the minutes as presented.
As written?
As written, yeah.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Guys, so I had my second vaccine shot the other day, and it's like my brain hasn't ever been the same since. And it took many days out of my life, so I'm a little discombobulated tonight. So I apologize, guys. So correspondence. I have a question because I received this. It's something I've never seen before. It's basically like a budgeted expenses. Julia, do you recall?
Yeah,
It's not
you get that on a monthly basis, right?
No, this is a different one, and this has like stationery, printing supplies, travel.
Was it in the mailbox?
It was in the mailbox. It says WEC on it.
Maybe it's like a different printout. Maybe with Ashley being out or being out soon, maybe someone else is doing it and they gave you a page that listed more stuff.
Yeah, it says we spent it's not the same budget that we normally have. It's like the current year, the $200. I don't know if anyone
We haven't
who's
spent
done it
anything.
before has heard anything familiar about this.
That sounds very odd. The
Okay.
only thing I think we've spent is the $75. I think we did spend that to renew NISAC.
Yes, and this is a totally different. All right, so
Can you
I'll
send it
volunteer
around?
to- I'll
Could you send it
volunteer.
around to us?
sorry, David.
Could you scan it and send it around to us?
Yeah, I mean, it just says like fund, general fund, total hours, contract.
Alex, I'll volunteer to take a look at it and see what it
Okay.
is.
Sorry,
So-
it's not the monthly bill that we usually get. The second piece of mail was, I'm always very excited to see the new issue of Talk of the Towns. And actually, if anyone, we get 2 copies, the WEC, because technically Erin receives one also. If anyone wants to borrow one or take it and have it, this issue actually talks a lot about solar siting and battery storage and how to get, how smaller towns can use renewable power to their advantage.
I'd love to read it. Perhaps you could bring it to the store and I'll pick it up from you.
Yeah, I have an extra one. So it was pretty interesting actually. And there's something really cool about if you have to fire town employees. So
Oh, I'll take a copy of that.
always.
But why is it that you want to take a copy of that?
Well, it just sounds like really interesting reading.
Oh,
It is
okay.
really interesting reading.
Right, yes.
Um,
Look at that.
Does anyone have any announcements to make? Wait, Erin, didn't you want to say something about your
sorry.
visit today?
Yes, sorry about that. So today I had someone from solar generation come to our house to look at it for solar panels, and I got into a discussion with him. And I didn't realize this, but they started out in Woodstock. Some of you may already know this. They actually used to have their offices where the Mud Club is now. And their employees are obviously local because they're all around here. But I thought, I mentioned to him that we were in discussion about what, potential projects to make the youth center like a net zero emissions. And they said they would come and give us a presentation if they wanted. And if we agreed to it, and they would, because they are so passionate, I guess, about Woodstock, and they thought it was a really good idea. They said they would really work with us and give us like a really good deal. So long as we said they were the ones doing it. So I thought that was interesting. Would you guys want to have them come and present to us?
Yes.
What did you say? Are we promising them an exclusive in some way?
Nope.
or-
No.
No. So I told them that we're talking about it. We're discussing it. When I found out that they were local, I said, and they said, hey, we'd love to, share knowledge with you, basically. So if you guys want to do that, I'll set that up. Sorry.
You should realize that the youth center is already on zero carbon hydroelectric power.
I can't hear you, Ken. You're breaking up.
You should understand that the youth
Fell into that one.
is on zero carbon hydroelectric power.
Okay, but what about the electric, okay, really, Ken?
I can't hear
Why
you.
are you saying this now, Ken? We've been talking about the youth center for weeks.
Oh, no, well, wait,
Well,
there's
that's
two
just-
different issues.
Aaron, that's
Aaron?
just their electric.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's all sorts of different issues, like how do they get their heat? What is their blower door test? Do they have leaks everywhere? Do they need to have the
Okay.
ceiling insulated? That's, the solar is a very important issue to me, of course, but it's not the only issue.
Okay, thank you.
David,
Anytime.
would it be helpful also for you guys as part of your solar investigation to have them come and present? I mean, it seems like we could ask them a myriad of questions once they're here.
Yeah, of course. And I got to tell you, as I said to you yesterday, I don't understand all the alphabets, the alphabet soup. I know they're a CSS provider. I don't know if they do CDG or CGA. Was it CCA? CCA. And that's really where, yes, of course it would be helpful.
Okay, I'll reach out to the guy and do we want to say the next WEC meeting?
Sure. Who was it
Okay.
that you spoke to, Aaron?
Richard Countryman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been there for a while.
Yeah, he was pretty knowledgeable, and he really, I mean, he came here, and originally I had inquired about solar energy, and I got a phone call back saying, oh, we looked at your property and it's not possible because we're so shaded. And he actually knows Reggie Earls, and I was talking to him, and he said, you know what? That's what the bigger companies do. He said, I'll come out and look at your place. And he had this little device, and he said, I'll let you know, if it's doable, and et cetera, and which I thought was a pretty good, approach. It felt truly local, felt truly,
Yeah, they are.
So, okay, great. I'll set that up and keep you guys posted.
Right, any other announcements? Okay, so the pump storage, did you, I sent it so last minute, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I
because
thought it was excellent.
I was in
Yeah,
bed for
yeah.
days.
Wow, really impressive, Alex. Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fever dream. My plan with that was to send it along to Bill and let him know that this was our suggested input. He had asked what we thought only the environmental impacts would be, to add into whatever they want to write as the town, which I would guess is going to encompass more than just this. And we have a few days, although I kind of want to get it to him fairly soon, just so they can work on it a bit.
It's due the 12th, right?
Yeah,
I don't think we have a few days. We have no days.
it's due
Look, I
the
thought
12th,
it
yeah.
I thought it was perfect, frankly.
Yeah,
So-
really excellent,
So are you guys all fine with just sending as
Yeah.
is with a?
No, I'm not. The one thing that I think could be added and would do well to add is to point out the inefficiency of this form of battery storage compared to other forms of battery storage, and also the necessity to place this form of battery storage in an environmentally sensitive place, whereas other forms of battery storage can be placed in places like brownfields, the dark side of mountains, the leeward, the leeward side of hills where there's no wind. A battery, batteries, the old chemical batteries, the lithium ion batteries or gyroscopic batteries can absorb energy, and they are much more efficient at sending it back out when you want to use it. And they do not have to be placed in environmentally sensitive areas. So this is, I'll write up something on that one point and send it to you send it to everyone tomorrow. But other than that, I thought it was excellent. I just think that one thing needs to be added. Period.
Okay, and sorry to put you. I don't want to make it sound like I'm disagreeing with you, David, because I'm not. But Ken didn't. I just want to make sure before we send this, we have all the facts correct. And I remember that Ken had said something about the math was wrong about the efficiency percentages. Ken, is that right? Or would you characterize what David just said as being correct so that we could go ahead and say that? Or was there some?
Well, I think David was looking at the 20% efficiency as the wrong way. I mean, you use 100 kilowatts of power to pump the water up, and you get 80 kilowatts back when you when you send it back down, so you lose 20%. You don't lose 80%.
I had the math the other way, Ken, and if I'm wrong, if I read it incorrectly, then of course that's a different situation. It takes away the inefficiency argument, but the placement argument still remains. And I'll look at the math again, but I thought their statement was that it would take you would lose 800 kilowatts. I thought they said they were 20% efficient without saying it.
Well, it is 20% efficiency, but that's what they lose.
Well, that's 20% inefficiency.
Yeah, I mean that's the way the
exact opposite.
storage, if you're
Okay.
losing 80% of the power, like you.
I'll read it. I'll reread it, Ken.
All right, do you want to just send it around later tonight, or I guess tomorrow, I guess?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And
So
then-
Alex, just to be clear, so your agreement with Bill is you are not, as the WEC, going to send a letter in on this. You're going to be folded into what Bill's going to send. You're not going to send.
So what he had asked us, and I mean, obviously, the thing that would have the strongest impact is if the town is making a statement as the town. And he had asked me, he had said to me on the phone that he would love to know what we would characterize the environmental issues would be with this project. And I know he's been in touch with like Olive and some of the other towns, so I'm sure that they have a lot of other things that they might be including, you know, like displaced homes, things like that.
Okay.
So my plan was that I'm gonna send this to him and I'm going to say, this is what we think, you know, should be included. If he does not want to use it, or he has already has something he wants to use and he kind of says no, then we would do it, I think, as our group.
Okay, because that was my thought, or my question was, because his is going to look a little different from yours anyway. If his was going to be just a regurgitation of yours, then it wouldn't have extra impact. But I was thinking that WEC sending something could have impact in addition to what Bill has, as opposed to holding back, that one more letter might be helpful. That the letter from the WEC, my thought was it might be helpful to have that sent, and then you send it to Bill so he can see what you put in it. But if his is not going to be identical, then the extra letter from the WEC, I might have thought could have been helpful to the cause.
I'm sorry. Did he write his letter already? Laura?
I'm not aware of that. I would have to ask him.
Because I mean, when you say they're not the same, I'm just curious to find out what would be so different about his letter.
Okay, so that's what I would need to know. I don't know that already. So I can just ask whether his is going to be a regurgitation of yours, in which case I agree him sending it is better. If his is going to look different, it may be valuable to have two letters go in, one from WEC, but I will ask Bill.
So my understanding of what our purpose was just to be advising on what we see as the issues. And this would be our advice. These are the bulleted, that's why I made it as a bulleted list and not an actual letter, because it's not the letter that is being sent. And then he can take those items and include them as additional items. If it becomes an issue and he doesn't want to include those things, or he wants to do it differently, we can then, as a second option, send it as the WEC. But I think that it would have less impact if it's not the town.
Right. Okay. I'll verify with him what his letter is going to look like.
So David, whenever you have that to send, you know, if you have it in the morning, I can get it over there.
Alex, I just want to double check. So this is all due Monday, right? The
12th, is that Monday? Yeah.
So, okay, Laura, is there any way you can find out and let Alex know in enough time before, say, you know?
Yeah, I will.
Do you think that's okay?
I will try to get with Bill tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else about that issue while we're on it? Okay. Hi, Michael. So the critical environmental areas and the planning board. We as a group had discussed potentially applying for the training. the Hudsonia training. And then at some point I realized that it didn't really make sense if we were going to apply and the planning board was also going to field an application. So I reached out to them, and I guess Peter and Judy?
Yeah, Judith Kerman.
Judith Kerman, yeah, have an interest in also doing it with us, or, you know, at the same time. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them for sure, but it did seem like it would make the most sense to just send in one application as a group. Olive, we spoke to them about it as well, and they think there's just too much on their plate right now with some of the DEP stuff that they're fielding to do the CEAs at all this year. So I think we'll just apply on our own. And then the 29th, right, is the workshop, Julia, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. And the submission for the application for this training is
The
due
30th. Yeah.
30th, yeah.
Do you know if that workshop is open to the public?
I don't know. I would imagine it would be. I think
Okay.
all of their meetings are open to the public, but I'll check. Let me check on that for you.
So the workshop is April 29th?
April 29th, yeah. Mhm. At
And the
their,
application is due when?
I'm sorry?
The 30th.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I got an email from Nate today also just reminding us that we should apply. So
Right, I saw that too.
yeah, so I mean, I'll definitely do it. I don't know if there's one other person who wants to, but
When is the training again?
The training is the 29th. It's at the planning board meeting on the Thursday, the 29th.
So what's this, then what's on the 30th? I'm confused.
That's
No,
the
the-
submission. I'm sorry, go ahead, Alice.
well, the workshop is the 29th, and that's being thrown by the planning board.
Right, so what's the submission on the 30th?
Hudsonia is offering a free training for 2 towns. It's like a 6-month program.
Right,
Where I think they said it's like an hour or 2 of work per week, but there isn't scheduling, you know, done on it yet. But essentially Hudsonia would be teaching 2 towns how to do CEAs and how to implement them. So the application, if we want to apply to do the training, is due on the 30th of April.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
So I think we're going to field an application and see. I mean, the only rule was you had to have completed a natural resources inventory, so.
Right. So they're looking for a committee of 3 to 5 people who could commit to working on the project. So presumably that would include Judith. It sounds like Judith really would want to be hands-on. Possibly Peter. Peter is probably pretty much oversubscribed, but, and then
So-
maybe a couple of us if we could swing that. And I don't know if anyone else, maybe 3 of us. I mean, it would have to be 3 of us, I guess.
So just to clarify, they want a committee of about 3 to 5 from each town?
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
In order to submit this, you need to have 3 to 5 people who have committed to
I see.
part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I can do it. Judith supposedly is on board.
Right.
So we would need at least one other person.
I'll kind of back you up. I can't take a lead on it, but I would try to help.
We could
I'll
just
look in-
say we're sick for the next 6 months.
Arlene, are you?
Well, I'm looking at this. I can't do the workshop because my son's going to be home and I'm dropping everything for that. But I am retiring, so I might be able to do, yeah.
Congratulations.
So I might be able to after, if it's anything after July, I might be able
It
to. do
is. The time frame is from sort of July to November, I think. June to November. Yeah.
June to November. I might be able to do it.
Mhm.
Okay. I think they said an hour or 2, be prepared to spend an hour or 2 per week.
Yeah.
I would be willing to, like, let me look at it a little bit more. I'm very tentative about that because it's hard for me to commit to something out that far right now, but
Yeah, I got to get my date down. So give me a day or 2. But I think it might be possible.
Sounds good. Julia, is there anything else on the CEAs you want to chuck in?
I don't think so. No, we should be in touch with Melissa Gray if we want to be part of that workshop on the 29th. And did I hear you, Alex? I mean, the most overworked Alex. Are you actually going to do the submission, or are you willing to do that?
The part of the reason I reached out to them is because I think we all need to kind of, if they have two people who want to do it or one person, that we should at least be looking at it together. So I'm going to see what they say. I'm waiting to hear. You know, they're not the easiest people to get.
Do you have that one pager that indicates what we have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have it.
Okay.
You're talking about Hudsonia, Alex?
Yeah.
I have a contact there who I might be able to introduce you to help is Eric Kiviat.
And Nate seemed like he's pretty, he's
Okay.
looking to help people
Okay.
do it, because I think they really want anyone to do it. But I just didn't want to like give all the answers if they have a whole different other set of answers also in mind. So
okay.
You know,
Okay.
you have the document that the planning board had put together, or I guess Melissa put it together on their behalf, indicating these are the things they were beginning to think of in terms of CEAs in this town. Do you have that document, or I could forward that to you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, let me send that to you. That was pretty useful. That was a summary, and I'll send it around to everybody. It's how the planning board was beginning to think about critical environmental areas, CEAs. And it was a useful document. So that was their point of departure, and that was several weeks ago.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And then that sort of brings us to the idea of the open space plan. Erin and I have gone back and forth on this in her capacity as the climate smart task force leader, because one of the things we had thought we would do is a climate action plan, a big component of which is land use planning. Then all of these things have been happening in town. The planning board looking into doing some conservation, some of the development issues. So we thought about potentially starting with the open space plan element and then adding that in to an eventual climate action plan. We had, for anyone who wasn't there, we had a meeting last week with a couple of the members of the Olive CAC. And they are also planning to, in about a month from now, start thinking about doing an open space plan. So it's something that we could conceivably work together with them on. And today I reached out to the Greenway about the Greenway grant. And I'm waiting to hopefully get a call back from them, because I had a number of questions about what it entailed. But it sounds like they not only give grant money, but also provide guidance, in a way that is similar to what we had with the NRI. And they give more money to municipalities that are working in tandem. So if we did work with Olive, for example, we would be open to getting a lot more grant money than if we did it just on our own, because they want to encourage towns to be working together. And I'm curious if anyone, I would love to hear if anyone has, Erin and I have gone back and forth and talked about it, but beyond that, and Arlene was in the meeting the other night with us too, so we had talked about it. But what everyone feels about thinking about a project like that. Anyone? No one has an opinion, so we're gonna.
Yeah, I think they were. I was after I got off the phone. I think they were a little confused as to what they were doing towards DEP, because they're looking to mark lands that DEP can't buy.
So
But that
they have to finish that by the end of the month, I think. It's like
Yeah, they do. But those lands then can be developed. That's the whole point. The
right.
reason why we step back is so those lands can get developed, which is completely opposite of what they want to do. So I was a little confused about that.
So I think they're trying to do two things, because
Yeah.
what they said is after this, they're so busy with the DEP thing right now
Yeah.
that that's like their focus. And then in a month when that's over, they want to start doing an open space plan, because I
Okay.
guess the supervisor feels that it's very
They're-
necessary for them. So yeah, it's two things that they're.
One thing that I was confused about, and maybe I misunderstood, Arlene or Alex, what did you think? It sounded like they were saying we have to mark land for the DEP to buy. Like they were just gonna wave a flag and say, hey, DEP, we want you to buy this.
No,
protect.
what it is they have to create a hamlet. Every town, Woodstock can do this too. They create hamlets. It's not your typical hamlet like you have in the town, but these are hamlets where we cannot touch to acquire land.
Really?
And Olive has opted out of doing that since the beginning of the program. They've just never done it. So this year they've decided that they want to do it. The funny part about it is we're not buying that much land now.
That's what I thought.
They should have been doing it years ago. And it's still, you can still do a stream acquisition program. You can still do a flood buyout program. Even if they do a hamlet, those can happen within a hamlet. So it's kind of a, I don't know. They're behind the 8 ball on that one.
Okay.
So it was a little confusing. I think the open space plan, it's looking at your community to see what should remain untouched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have never really done that, have we? Except for the Camo.
Probably the Land Conservancy is.
Yeah,
the
they-
closest, right?
Woodstock has, Woodstock Land Conservancy. But I mean,
That's a private organization that buys up land from people and just retires it on their own. It's their mission. But there's never been anything organized by the town or any other part,
No.
or part of the
Well,
town.
the Camo.
Well, that's
but that's with
yes,
the Woodstock
that's-
Land Conservancy too. They were a big part of that.
That's true.
So it's a fairly big undertaking to look at not just the hamlet, our real hamlet, and the town, and say, what lands really, I mean, I'm telling you, the funeral home was a perfect example. There's a field that floods. Do we really want to see 5 McMansions or houses in that field? We all just got all shocked and said, no, this should be protected. So maybe there are portions of of our community that we not only should say should be protected, but maybe work with the Woodstock Land Conservancy to protect them.
Wouldn't
Doesn't
this
this
be part
tie
of-
into zoning and CEA and all that stuff? It's all,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's getting zoning involved with this, and maybe creating some new zoning.
So that's part of why we thought that maybe this would be an appropriate time to do this project. In tandem with, kind of thinking about the CEs, thinking about the zoning, things like that.
Isn't this the same as the CEA project? It's really,
To some extent, yes. The CEA project, I suppose the end result is a bit different because it is like, a mapping designation, whereas this would be like a set of recommendations to the town of like now and how to proceed into the future. But it's basically thinking about the same, we're thinking about we would be thinking about the same things. So it would seem to make sense to think about them only one time. A lot of the open space plan, the results of the open space plan are so doing an open space plan isn't a climate smart. I mean, Ken, you probably know the best, but it's not its own climate smart item, right? But it has a lot of elements that can count for points.
Generally, if you do anything, we could work it back into a climate smart.
Okay.
I mean, like the pollinator pathway was not,
All right. I like your attitude, Ken.
you know, do what's right, and then we'll figure out how we get points, not the other way around.
Yeah,
So it does.
It all
to me,
ties in.
It seems like it makes them. It would make the most sense. But if no one else is interest, I can't do it myself. I probably can. And Laura, do you think that that's something that would be well received considering everything that's being asked of us at the moment?
So you're saying having the WEC weigh in on open spaces and what should happen with open spaces?
That's essentially what an open space plan is.
Yeah, I think that, yes, I think that would be helpful. Yes.
Okay.
That was really part of what we were being asked to do with the comp plan. That was a part of the comp plan that we were asked to weigh in on, I think. So that would forward that.
Okay. And do we want to move forward, and I'll do most of the legwork for this, but looking into some of those Greenway grants
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah, I'll collaborate with you if you would like, because since it would, since I know Greenway is also part of some items on Climate Smart as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but I think they just rolled it out because what I did was I was trying to go in and filter on communities that have already done Greenway stuff, and there were none. Nobody's done it yet, so at least I couldn't find any.
Yeah, one of the confusing things was that to be a Greenway, in one instance, they said they only do it on the county level, but then these grants were for towns.
Yeah.
So it was a bit confusing, which is why I'm hoping to get a human on the phone who can answer some of those questions.
Woodstock's part of the Hudson River Greenway?
Yes, anything in Ulster County.
So
Ulster County is not a Greenway county.
No.
Like, they haven't done it.
So one thing that I'm very interested in, because affordable housing, you have the dilemma of open spaces and affordable housing. So one thing, as the WC looks in open spaces, if you're so inclined, I would be very interested to one of the things that you consider and answer is, where should, if we increase density, if we added affordable housing, it kind of by definition says we're going to increase density, but where is it smart to do that? Because if you reserve every open space, you have no place to put new housing that's affordable, but you want to have a balance, I think. So that is kind of a question that I have, that if you're so inclined, because the housing committee talks about we ought to have affordable housing, but they haven't really provided a roadmap of where. Their thought is, well, spread it throughout town. But are there places that are open today that would be good for affordable housing versus other places that are open that we ought to preserve forever? So that's kind of a question in my mind.
It's kind of, in what I do. What we try to do is, when we're looking even at large tracts of land or smaller tracts of land, is to acquire the water, to acquire the slope. But if there's white dry space, you leave that for development. And you could look at the town the same way. There might be a piece of property, might have 50% of the property is wet with slope that you would want to protect, but the other 50% might be the perfect place for a community, and this is the kind of stuff that we might be able to actually look at with the planning board and say, this would be perfect. This would be ideal, because you can keep this separate and protect it, put an easement on it, and this could be developed. So there are ways to do it. Because that's what we've been working at for 22 years now, in the community. So
Laura, I think that one thing that would be really helpful for us, and maybe you can help facilitate this, is an idea of a time frame. Because so many of these things are happening. I know you guys have your zoning that you're working on and the planning board, but when are they expecting to make decisions about these things? When do they need to know things from us? How much time would we have to develop out some of these plans? And then give them, that would be very helpful to know.
Okay, so the moratorium, once the moratorium passes, we're expecting it to last no longer than 9 months. And the zoning revision committee is working feverishly within those 9 months then to figure out what the new zoning guidelines ought to be. So of course, the sooner the better. It's hard to really say because I don't have a timeline specifically for the zoning revision committee, but they know what the mission is and they're off headed that direction. So I don't have a hard and fast date. But the sooner the better.
Okay, if you want to sniff that out a little bit more for us too at some point.
Okay.
Because I mean, anything that is going to be a well thought out plan is going to take a bit of, you're looking at least 6 months, I would guess.
Right.
Laura, how long has the zoning revision committee been meeting? Or is it an always meeting committee?
Well, the zoning revision committee, I think we had our first meeting around November of 2019. So we do have 2 laws in front of the town board right now that is being reviewed by town board members. And the next law we're working on housing, that PRD, that I forget what I think planned residential district, is that what PRD is? But also we're specifically focused on floating zones because the first thing we're doing for the moratorium is assessing floating zones, which is kind of like the PRD, where you kind of have spot zoning if an area meets a criteria.
Okay, and what are the 2 laws that are before the board now? I'm just curious.
The one law is the communications, like the 5G, trying to keep the small towers.
Yeah.
And the other one is the water. Ken knows it really well. Is the law the water protection that came out to protect the aquifer.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else before we go to the next one? On this? Okay, so the Clean Energy Communities Youth Center Energy Audit. I submitted the paperwork for the grant. We're waiting to hear back. Bob, I saw the email that you sent while I was like dying in bed and I kind of half understood it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, what you looked into?
I had Ken sent me a link from NYSERDA, and I pulled from that what they've identified as Ulster County providers for energy audits.
Okay, so these aren't anyone that you spoke to or that you kind of looked into at all. They're just what's on the list.
Each of them I kind of looked on each website just to kind of get a sense, but I did not speak to them.
Okay.
I think 5, 6, 7 on that list that I kind of pulled. We're certainly not limited to those, but I just, as a starting point, I just pulled whatever was identified for
So
Ulster.
2 of them are in Rhinebeck and 1 is in High Falls. Would we be maybe better off looking more locally than some of them are kind of further afield?
Yeah,
Well, there are
they're
other
listed
sources
under Ulster
for this
County, I don't know why.
information.
I'm sorry.
Ken,
You
say
both
that
spoke.
again.
I couldn't hear either of you. Ken and Bob both spoke. I couldn't hear either of you.
There are other sources for this information. When we did the 10% challenge a couple of years ago, we worked with RUPCO, which was working with the Ulster County Cornell Cooperative. That whole program has changed. So it's now it's now Dutchess County and Greene County along with RUPCO. But the person who can give you all the skinny on that whole program is a guy by the name of Michael Darcy. And Michael works in Kevin Cahill's office. And so you can call him and ask him for advice on how to do these energy audits and home energy audits, because there's a whole program set up through Cornell on this. And if you talk to him, you'll probably have to brace yourself for some feedback on our Woodstock experience a couple of years ago. But I think he's probably the current information, a good source to get to the source of the current information on this outside of NYSERDA. Of course, the second option, the second person you ought to talk to is Tom Conrad up at Marbletown, because they've done this. They did this with their their senior center, brought in the contractors and did the blower test and all that stuff. And they just did that last year. That's what they use their grant for. So, it might be useful to talk to someone who's been there and done that.
Bob, do you feel like that's something that you want to continue on with your
Sure.
background? I mean,
Sure. Can you send me their contact information?
I'll send you the contact information on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll follow up with that.
yeah, that'd be, you probably know best what questions to ask and stuff. So that would be
Yeah.
fantastic. And then I guess we're just waiting. Julia, I don't know if it's going to go to you or if it's going to go to me when they get back to us about the cash.
Oh,
So I guess we'll just see.
I guess we'll find out. I think if you submitted the, well, we don't know. We'll find out.
And then on May 11th, we are having someone from NYSERDA come to the town board meeting to do the stretch codes presentation. She just emailed me actually.
Right, that Carla just.
Carla. Carla and Margot. I
Right,
guess
so
they're
Margot's
both-
going to make the presentation.
Yeah.
And they're wondering how long, probably about 15 minutes. Wouldn't you? Laura, how long typically do you countenance, how do you welcome someone making a presentation?
Yeah, I think 15 minutes is okay, generally.
Okay.
If there's one presentation, 15 minutes is, I think, okay.
And then maybe 5 or 10 minutes of Q&A, or is that just too much?
I would think it's okay. If the whole thing could fit in 15 minutes, that's even better. But
Yeah.
if you did, I wouldn't go longer than 15 minutes for the presentation.
All right. And when I saw Bill at the chair meeting, I let him know that it would be helpful to have someone from the building department there, but I'm going to reiterate that. But Laura, if you talk to anyone too.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And since I'm getting with Bill anyway, and I did just text Bill, by the way, about the pump storage, just in case he was text me back before this meeting ended, but I haven't heard from him, but I will be getting with him on that and this about getting the building department person there.
Okay. So I know David said he wants to come, but if anyone wants to go on the 11th,
Yeah, I'll be there.
that's when it's going to be. And if anyone has any stretch kind of questions that, let me know.
Mm.
Also, and Laura, if you hear anything come up, let us know if your peeps have any questions that you overhear, send them, you can send them our way beforehand. Sometimes it's helpful for the presenters to know they might be asked for what some of the issues in a specific place might be that they want to fit into that presentation. Okay, that's kind of it for that too. So our only new business item for tonight, in-person meetings. How are people feeling? I don't even know if we're allowed to, but David wanted us to talk about it. And of course, Ashley's not here, so we don't have anyone to answer the question.
I'm all for it.
Not allowed to.
How are people feeling about in-person meetings?
I think when it gets a little warmer, or even soon. I mean,
Suggesting outside.
I don't mean to invade anyone's privacy, which I've been so excited lately. I've just been, as I see people out, and when I say lately, I mean the past like maybe 2 weeks, I've said, oh, hey, did you get vaccinated? And I realize that's kind of a really personal question. I shouldn't be doing that. But I'll volunteer the fact that I'm in the process of getting vaccinated, but I still plan on wearing a mask and doing social distancing. So that's where I'm coming from. If you guys are comfortable, I'm comfortable with it.
You can't do this until you get the governor's sign off. I mean, you're not doing this voluntarily. This is an executive order from the governor.
we're starting to go back
Sometimes
into
I've
the
been
office.
having meetings.
Well, I thought let me check with Bill and see Bill's take. I thought that the governor allowed the Zoom meetings. I didn't realize he mandated them. I thought that he allowed them. So let me get a clarification from Bill of whether we have to do Zoom or whether it's our choice.
I think that's a bad idea. I would rather you did not ask Bill to clarify that. And here's why. There are two things that are up for me in this. First of all, I think live meetings are infinitely more valuable and nuanced than Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings like playing a video game. I'm fully vaccinated per CDC guidelines, and just so you know, I've been going to places like the farmers market and asking friends of mine if they are, and if they say yes, I shake their hands and then I hug them because I've missed that social interaction. And not that I'm saying I want to hug,
All of
necessarily
us.
hug you,
Oh, no.
but I would be delighted to be able to shake people's hands. So when in terms of whether we should have them or not, first of all, when everyone is comfortable, when it's not, if there's one person who's uncomfortable with it, I say it's not going to work. But for me, I'm comfortable being fully vaccinated or not people. I'll be mask on just because out of courtesy to everyone else. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, in terms of asking Bill if it's okay, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. You ask for permission, you open a goddamn briar patch, and I think we should just keep out of the briar patch and just do it. And if they have a problem, they can say, "Whoa, you were so bad and naughty."
Well, aren't we going to need to get permission to be in the town offices?
Yeah.
Ask Bill when the town board's going to start meeting.
How are we gonna get the key if we don't, we can't just go in
That's
there and say,
right.
hey, give us the key?
You can meet at
And
my
then
house. You
outside.
can meet at my
And the-
house.
Or my
And
house.
the people who have to work in that building every day, they might have feelings about us coming in
Right.
at night,
True.
does it have to be
True.
cleaned? This is, I
That's
mean,
right.
it's a good discussion to have. I think it's definitely time to start the discussion. I don't know. David, I totally feel it. I'm touch deprived, but I think we should be smart about it.
I'm
Well,
also curious how it works with the open part of the meetings, or if we have to have guests come. How
Yeah,
it works with them.
or maybe we might have to still have a Zoom option for public members that aren't going to be making it in person for whatever reason. That's a good
I'm not
point.
sure. How do you, the question, I've been thinking about that, and I don't know how to do it technologically. I don't know how you really can have a Zoom meeting and a live meeting
Yes.
interwoven with each other.
So
And
I
I'm
have
I
done
will
that,
volunteer
David.
my house, and don't tell my wife who said that because she'll kill me, but I will volunteer my house for meetings.
David,
can-
I have done meetings even before there was ever COVID, where there was a Zoom component because some people couldn't be there. And so there was just a laptop set up or a computer, and people could Zoom in so that they could still make the meeting. So it's definitely possible. I just don't even know, does anyone know what the appropriate channel would be to find out this information?
Ask Bill. But Alex,
No,
do you want me?
Jackie.
I heard
Ask Jackie.
well, yeah, you could ask Jackie. But so I know I heard David's response, but Alex, as the chair of the WEC, would you like me to contact Bill and ask for guidance?
I don't know that Bill is the person that we need to ask, but there certainly is someone who would know the rules and regulations. I mean, it almost seems like it's underneath him to some extent, beneath him
Well,
to have to.
He's going to know what the town board's doing. He's going to know what the governor's ruling actually is and what choices we have.
So,
And
so Laura, why don't we phrase it something like, what is Woodstock's policy going to be about in-person meetings? Are we planning on resuming them? If so, when? I know towns have been doing them at some point, so I don't think it's a governor mandate.
Yeah, I think he only mandated that Zoom is allowed because then before this, you had to be in person. You didn't have a choice. So I don't believe he mandated you had to Zoom. I think he just allowed Zoom. I think that's what his order was, that he was allowing Zoom. So okay. So you're okay, Alex, if I fish around and see what I can find out about what Woodstock committee.
Yeah, and just, you know better than someone knows better than I do who the real person who knows all that kind of detail-oriented stuff is. So maybe also involve that person.
Right, okay. I mean, I can call Jackie. I can start by calling Jackie.
Maybe we can do it outside at the town offices.
Well, that's the other option, like David's offering his house. I mean, the other thing is the gazebo. I mean, there's two town places that are sheltered that could be a choice. One is the gazebo at the Cuomo. The other is over by the what you call it, next to the cemetery.
Andy Lee, you're talking about the thing at
The
Andy Lee?
pavilion, the pavilion. There's a pavilion over at Andy Lee. And also, oh, by the way, by the ballpark over where the dog park is, the baseball field, I thought a pavilion went up there as well. So there are several town properties that have pavilions of various sizes. You might have to bring your own chair, but there are outside choices that are covered.
Well, there are 2 dugouts at Rick Volt's field, so you get to sit on a bench, and we'd have to sit in different benches and different dugouts and shout back and forth.
I thought a pavilion went up. How recently were you there?
I haven't been there in years, since when my son stopped playing when he was 13.
There
so
you go.
13 years ago.
So take a drive, and I believe a pavilion has gone up in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Because there was a
great.
committee, that was doing that, and there was a big brouhaha about how they wanted to improve that field, but I thought the pavilion got approved, and I thought it got done.
Yeah, Laura, I think it's fine for you to look into it. Let's just find out what's going to happen.
And I just thought of one other thing with Laura, with what you were saying. If people aren't comfortable, because the offices at the Como, it is kind of a small room. We could also meet at the community center, which is a much larger room, so we could be spread out more. That is an option.
You can't just meet there. You have to reserve the space. You have to pay for it, or
Yeah,
it's
but
a
that's
big
what I'm
deal.
Oh,
saying.
you don't have to pay for it.
No.
This is a town.
No, but I mean, it's not an.
You have to reserve it,
You
correct?
have to
Okay.
reserve it. You have to fill out forms.
Okay, but
You
that
reserve it through Jackie, right? And I'll call Jackie and get her.
that could be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an option. I mean, it also has Wi-Fi there and stuff, so
Yeah.
it's an option as
So
the
maybe
town.
the questions are, when will we be returning to in-person
Mhm.
meetings? How can we facilitate that so that everyone is comfortable,
Mhm.
right? Even if it means, changing up what we have been doing. I think we'll need Wi-Fi if people are going to maybe be coming in on Zoom. So I don't know if the baseball field is going to work, but.
Well, but it's right next to the community center. The pavilion right there is right next to the community center. I would think if you're close, if you're in the community center, if you can get Wi-Fi, you're right just outside it. So I hope you get Wi-Fi right outside it too. But I will investigate. The other thing is, remember that you are mandated to have open meetings, so people are going to need notice. So you may want to decide, is your first meeting, maybe the target is the first meeting in May, so that at the next meeting, this committee makes decisions, so you have the ability to notify the public where your next meeting is going to be. So do remember, you want to notify the public where you're meeting, because you're bounded by the open meetings law.
Yeah, let's just find out, ballpark, what's going on. Has anyone even ever, I'm sure someone's talking about it, right? So.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm vaccinated now, not that it's anyone's business on the internet, but
Yeah.
Me too. I survived vaccine number 2.
yeah,
Me
I'll
too.
lick everybody, so.
I had a horizontal day. My day after vaccine number 2 was a horizontal day with a fever, but survived it. Happy to have it behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a fun day.
Right.
I just want to point out that HIPAA is designed to protect the privacy of patients and the personal and medical records of patients. And a patient has the absolute right to waive that privacy anytime he or she desires, which is something that most medical offices have a hard time getting their minds around, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, we can tell you, but you can't ask.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But
Don't ask,
you
but you can tell.
But like Aaron says, like I'll mention to people, oh, I got my vaccine. They normally offer. So I don't actually ask them. I just say I did, and they tell me.
Yeah, I had to stop. My excitement was getting away from me. I was like, so go. Can't do that.
All
I'll
right.
get vaccine passports.
Yeah.
Do they exist,
Okay.
Ken?
Michael, you're always here so silently and kindly. Is there anything you want to contribute? I don't want to feel like I know you're not technically a member, but if you have something you want to contribute, please feel free now.
Sorry, I'm actually working on another screen, hurrying to get something done. But
Not really here.
yeah, it gets, I work at university and student researchers are done in a couple of weeks, so it's a rush to try to squeeze some stuff out of them. But I met with Aaron Ken on Monday as part of the climate task force. Sorry, I'm gonna lose track of all the
That's
acronyms
okay.
and whatnot. And gonna start looking at like other climate action plans and that whole process to help out on that end.
To get access to
So,
our,
but yeah, I'm just listening.
you get
Yeah,
access to our
yeah.
website with the.
Aaron gave me access.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
would be fantastic to have someone, we do want to do the climate action plan. So if it seems to me like there's a few prongs of it, like that it involves. And so if we are working on the land use kind of element with the open space plan, Michael, if you see something in there that you feel like speaks to you and your sort of knowledge and capabilities that you wanted to start looking into kind of in parallel, then we would be a few steps ahead, I think, at some point.
Yeah, sure, exactly. I'm gonna find some time in the next like week or so to look at that stuff. So
Yeah, I didn't want to say too much, Michael, because when we spoke, I didn't want you to feel that you like really committed to, doing this, but yeah, he is going to look at what is involved with the climate action plan. And then I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he can help us with some guidance and kind of make more sense of it. Cause it is kind of, from what I understand, it's something he might be able to understand a little bit better. So I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want him to feel pressured, but at the same time, I'm glad to see you at the meeting.
Aaron or Ken, what happened with the climate resiliency people what's happening there?
So that tool is done. And at our last meeting, Ken was asking me that, and they're supposed to present it to the town board, but it got delayed. Laura, did they ever present the resiliency tool to the town board?
I don't recall that.
Okay, so I have to double check because I saw an email where it said it had, I think back in March, but I don't remember it, and I planned on going. So let me look at that and see. The tool is actually done. So Julia, that's a good question. I'll have to follow up on that and have better information at the next meeting.
I don't think I recall what the resiliency tool is.
It's a spreadsheet, Excel. It's like a bunch of Excel spreadsheets.
I certainly was never at a meeting where that got covered.
Oh, okay, good then. I mean, well,
Yeah, at least you know the status.
We had a team who said that they were going to help. So they helped. They were good. It worked out.
yeah, Melinda Herzog from Cornell Cooperative,
Okay.
Brent. Yeah, they had a couple meetings with Bill, Butch. Ellen didn't make the meetings, but she had phone calls with them afterwards when she could have time. So that was really helpful because she had some specific knowledge that they needed. So it's good.
That's the last chapter of our climate action plan. Now it's done. All right, anything else, anyone? All right, 7:59, guys. That's a wrap. Have a nice
Have a wonderful night and good couple of weeks. Happy
Thank you.
vaccination.
Yeah, enjoy the spring.
You bet.
Bye. Oh.